In fact, if you are now asking, what is the most revolutionary innovation that will change the world, perhaps most people immediately answer AI, and in a way I agree, since the emergence of generative AI, which at that time was disrupted by GPT chat, suddenly the whole world felt like it was experiencing the first time the internet existed. Man, this is really magical. How come now computer software can answer and make so many things, maybe even better than humans? And this is the story behind the company that will beat Apple. The true king of AI, Nvidia, is now filming this. They are a company whose market value is 3 in the world. They have already beaten Google, Amazon, and many public companies. They are only behind Apple and Microsoft, and the difference is not that big. Nvidia is worth $2.2 trillion. Apple is around $2.6 trillion if you look at the chart, and it just so happens that you were just having fun investing in Nvidia 1 year or 2 years ago. Now, maybe you are in the middle of and profits. This year alone until the beginning of March they have almost doubled compared to the previous 12 months. They have almost tripled 5 years earlier, almost increased 10 times. Why is this? Because Nvidia has the nickname the company behind the companies. Companies like Adobe, Netflix, Airbnb, Tesla, NASA, even OpenAI and Google are back together with Nvidia. You could say that this is a company that now wouldn't be able to carry out its AI innovation otherwise. There is Nvidia. Oh, I forgot. Actually, there is a reason behind why Nvidia can be so crazy, because they subscribe or not. If they subscribe, it's really crazy. Okay, let's continue. But those of you who watched until now, before you guys are flocking crazy caves, must buy Nvidia now. I have to buy Nvidia now. You guys, you have to watch until chapter 3. Because behind all that success there is a really serious fear that I can't even predict whether Nvidia will really be able to stay strong or not. It's as simple as the gold rush analogy. People are fighting over the gold, namely Nvidia's AI, you could say. The only company in the world that has to provide a scope for them to get gold, that's the question. Are they really that genius that they can predict building a company from 10 years ago? Oh, they will depend on my product. Well, that's the definition of true power. If you look at Nvidia's revenue, can rise this high with a net margin of over 50%, it's all purely because of AI. For lay people, Nvidia sells graphic cards for playing games. Oh, that's definitely their core business. Here we'll learn, in my opinion, there's a luck factor, too. How crazy is it? Nvidia's strategy to become the number 3 company in the world is only the first step. We need to understand why they are so booming, and we will go to chapter 1, how Nvidia makes its money. Where does it come from? According to me, this is a lucky factor. Yes, and it's true that the origins of Nvidia first built in 1993, they had a vision to build 3D graphics for gaming and the multimedia market. So actually it wasn't wrong until maybe in the last 5 to 10 years, Nvidia was a company whose focus was on gaming. If we look at their roadmap from 1993 to 2024, the majority their focus is on one product called GPU. GPU is a graphical processing unit. For those of you who are non-technical, when building a computer, there are usually 2 types of processing unit, namely CPU and GPU. CPU, or what is called the central processing unit, is used for the computing needs of all computer operations. If you make an analogy, you have 4 workers who are really great, their bodies are big, you give them a really difficult job, even though they will definitely do it, but for example, in the world of gaming or the world of graphic processing, it's like the analogy is that you have 100 people whose bodies are probably quite small. They can't complete jobs such as lifting heavy objects, but if you give them work, for example, there is a sea of rubbish, you will be cool with 100 small people or 4 big people. This is a stupid analogy like that. I know this. Here there will be some IT kids who might be able to explain it better because the nature of gaming or the graphics process until it appears on the screen requires a lot of pixel processing and the bag is small and coincidentally, AI suddenly appears and suddenly it becomes the AI market is a type of software that requires a lot more small bags than the bagongs to complete one big bag, so that's actually the origin of why Nvidia, which focuses on gaming, can really win in this AI revolution. Here is an analysis. It's called revenue segmentation. So if you're talking about Nvidia's overall revenue, what are the components? If you look at it from 2014 to 2021, most of them are. Yes, the focus is on the gaming market, they sell graphic cards, even for multimedia, and that's the green one, but if you look at it, why suddenly this black one became a very significant driver of their income, which made them worth up to $2.2 trillion, because this black thing is called a data center, so the tools they have now are used by all global companies in the world to is it okay to run their AI feature. The luck factor here is because no one can predict that suddenly AI can boom like this. But they happen to make a product that was originally for gaming which happens to be suitable for AI, even though it spikes in 2021 because of this. At that time there was Bitcoin mining craze which was right when people suddenly started mining Bitcoin again, the task was more suitable for small but large jobs and the analogy was simple because suddenly everyone was discussing AI. The problem with this revolution is actually not that no one is using it. The demand is there but the supply is problematic. I will discuss more later in the last chapter. There are things like Nvidia, to build their chips, they still depend on a company called TSMC. The CEO himself says that Nvidia is impossible for you, for example, without this company. And if we connect this to geopolitics, why is Taiwan now really being fought over by TSMC or Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing? Not only because it supplies the majority of operations for Nvidia throughout the world, it supplies around 60% of global chip manufacturing needs. In the past, war was a problem. Weapons are with people, but if we talk about the AI revolution, the war is basically in the hands of people who can make those weapons. Without Nvidia, without TSMC, maybe now you can't feel any of the AI features from any company, but that's how it is. They're back to the topic of money. Why is this video still seen as a really monster company that in my opinion maybe it has the potential to beat Apple? Actually, if we look at the development of their income, it doesn't make sense. If for example we don't invest in Nvidia, you have to wait until the last chapter where the risks are. And full disclaimer here, I'm not inviting you to just buy Nvidia, you have to do your own research, because even though AI has boomed now, the journey is still very long. The revolution is still dominated by America, which is predicted to be Nvidia's main income. We see other countries following suit, like Saudi Arabia in August 2023. They are already fighting to get chips from Nvidia. This B-note is worth hundreds of millions of dollars because the demand for chips made by America's Nvidia is so crazy that this company is really pushing not to export to China. Mostly because if you pay attention to AI war, it's possible that America and China are fighting over it as much as possible, so don't China get chips from Nvidia as an American company. Right now China has around 20 to 25% of revenue from Nvidia's data centers until they have to avoid making chips that are more downgraded or different versions for them or go to China. I won't discuss too much about the trade war, but so that you understand better. Before I discuss the last chapter, why do you still have to be very careful? Don't just go all in. Okay, I'll put it on Nvidia, it's called an educational channel, so you still understand in chapter 2, the backbone of, if for example you look at this chart, one company can easily dominate the entire market share. Data center needs to run this AI and even lure Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. If you often read the news, he must have a project, the ambition to build a chip factory worth $7 trillion. In my opinion, doesn't make sense, but here you can see the ambition that Sam Altman has, the nickname the father of AI, which makes AI suddenly known to everyone. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, whose nickname is the backbone of AI, is the backbone of AI itself. And in fact, if we look at companies that have market share dominance like Nvidia, according to analysts from ARK Invest, companies that have a market share above 90% will likely continue to dominate the market for the next 5 to 10 years in the future. But the problem is, why are they able to dominate? There are other chips like Intel, AMD, which are both GPU companies, only have 3% of Intel's market share because their focus is on CPUs. They don't have a share in this market, which makes it even crazier because they dominate the market share that they can make huge profits. According to the analysis, the selling price of their products and services can be up to 10 times their capital. And if we talk about the AI revolution, this is just the initial stage. Again, I remember this because I know you often watch it until the middle, the video keeps running out, it drops, you have to watch until the last chapter. The fact is that AI is still in the early stages, with a market of $124 billion, predicted to reach $300 billion in 2027, the impact is really big. AI predicts it will not only help people on a daily basis, but can advance it. The country's economy is boosting human work because for once this is technology that can be seen not just as a tool but as an extension or analogy. Like two of you, try to come back again. Let's talk about competition. There is a name called the Three Chips Company, and to push AI, this is actually not the problem with GPUs, is that there is only a third chip that is needed, which will be new in 2023. Nvidia has been nicknamed the three-chip company, namely CPU, GPU, and DPU. Lastly, their data processing unit is a specialization of GPUs which they have built specifically to process data needs like AI. So it's even more efficient. If we talk about its competitor AMD, which previously only focused on GPUs, but now their focus is more on CPUs. That's why a lot of review ad promotions focus on their Ryzen, but it's not for AI. Intel, which is actually famous for CPUs. Recently, we've seen new news, a lot of it is moving into GPUs with Intel calling Ultra. Actually, I've done research on it, but in my opinion, it's a bit too technical for this video. One hero product that Nvidia is highlighting to power all AI in the world is the A100 Tensor Core GPU and H100, only this looks like everything Nvidia has done from the start, which in my opinion has a good luck factor until they can harvest this AI revolution. Sounds too good to be true. It looks like the other competitors very far away, and if AI really will be that big and all AI companies in the world will depend on Nvidia, maybe Nvidia will not be the number one company in the world. The majority of ordinary people close one eye because they know better Microsoft, Apple, Meta, which is directly in the form of end products. Finally, I will tell you there are always risks or maybe obstacles, situations that seem too good to be true. We go to the last chapter, the AI bubble. Simply like this, anything that seems to rise too fast, which usually makes the majority of people FOMO. There you guys, you have to be really wary. Even though the narrative gives the impression that Nvidia will continue to dominate the market and its growth won't stop. Many analysts in the world say that Nvidia's growth will slowly slow down. When? We never know, and what's even scarier is if, for example, we are talking about the bubble. Many people also said that when Nvidia hit the 2 trillion mark, it was a sign that these analysts said there was an AI bubble. But we have to understand first about AI. Yes, the technology actually has several phases. We focus on these two, phase training and inference phase. Phase training. In fact, the analogy is really crucial for you as a human being to be able to do great things. You need to learn first, you need to practice first, and there is no difference with AI. Maybe from 10 years ago, AI's focus was basically learning. She collected all the data like photos. Video text behavior you discussed. You could actually say that this phase is the phase that is most harvested by Nvidia because learning is more difficult than practicing once you understand it, and this has been going on for years. Why did Nvidia win? Basically, the chip that I discussed earlier is the H100 GPU. The most popular for AI training, it is even used with OpenAI. Well, again, using the human analogy, after you are already good at learning, you can practice. The next step is basically, practice making work. Well, this falls into the category of inference phase, which is what the majority of us are experiencing now. AI can already make text. Audio video makes decisions. You can talk, you can make certain predictions without looking at too much data. Back to the previous analogy, maybe every time you do something, you have to open a book first. Remember the step by step now. If you already understand and don't need stronger power, this phase booming in 2020, when generative AI like Chat, Midjourney, Gemini, owned by Google, started to become popular. Well, here the chip that I discussed earlier is starting to no longer be relevant. Well, in fact, in this phase the need for computing will be smaller than face training. If for example you ask to Nvidia, the CEO said, "Oh, don't worry, we will continue to make chips that are always relevant to his current needs." But why is this going to be a bubble burst candidate? If from the perspective of a crazy person like Sam Altman, he said right now, no bubble, but AI's development will be more stable because of the chip's limitations. But there is a perspective that is 180 degrees opposite to that of Apollo's asset manager, Mark Rowan. He said that this AI bubble will be worse than the dot-com bubble, and this statement is agreed with Katie Wood from ARK Invest, because when Nvidia hit $2 trillion, he reduced his investment or position in Nvidia and TSMC because expectations for AI were too high and manufacturers couldn't meet those expectations. For CPI production, it was much more difficult than the majority thought. A researcher from Bernstein said that to make this AI chip, right, this is probably the most complicated thing that humans have ever done. Again, the conclusion here is that Nvidia, in my opinion, will continue to grow until AI reaches a certain point, and in my opinion, that is still far away. But what is more important is whether Nvidia is a company that can adapt and always be able to meet market needs. According to I think this is an interesting topic, and we can't underestimate the power of AI. I agree, don't you agree? What's the matter? Video, buy or buy? That's all from me. See you guys in next video. Bye bye.